Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're on location again, only because we're being chased by Steve Bannon and his friends from the alt-right, his blog. I call it a Isablog, as something negative. And his friend Donald Trump, of course, threatened to have me kicked out of the country. But I said no. Isn't that what I told? I said, but to make a long story short, we're hiding out here right outside the back door of his place there in Florida in Moralago. I know it doesn't look like Florida around us, and why am I wearing this coat? Well, I was just trying to look ridiculous so they'd leave us alone, right, Jackson?
Yep.
Because down here we have to use code names. My name is Fisherman, and my son's name is Parakeet. That's his old name. Yeah, because he was so tough. Even when he was a little 2-year-old, he joined a gang of toddlers, and his street name, believe it or not, was Baby Rage. Baby Rage. Yeah, he made that up himself. Too Many Simba movie. He watched Simba too many times. He thought he was Simba. He really did. But nevertheless, we're in a new Simba world where we have a president that we all don't agree with, but we're just trying to get the facts. We're out here trying to get facts about things. But in any rate, on another story, it reminded me while we were down here, one of the other homeless people had an appendicitis attack. His appendix broke right out here by the railroad tracks there by Moralago there.
Shoot himself too.
You might, yeah. He was going to die, but as you know, I am a doctor. Don't have the license. My son will tell you this too. It's a funny story, but not really for me as I think back on. As you know, folks, I have a weird sense of humor. I don't know. It's just not for everybody. Most people say, "Oh, that's distasteful," but in private they laugh like hell. But in this case, I shouldn't have done it, and I know. Now, I was just about a year away from med school, ready to start my residency here in St. Luke's in Quakertown here. But what happened was I was, as a graduate person in the class, I was instructing on anatomy with the cadavers that were all lined up in front of us, and a half hour before the class, one of the cadavers I rigged up from the ceiling from the engineering department next door. I had a friend who could do this with motors and little heavy-duty fish line. You can't even see it; it's so thin, but it's real strong. Well, to make a long story short, we tied up the one cadaver, and like a puppet, like a marionette puppet. Well, when the kids came in, I was instructing them on one thing. All of a sudden, the marionette cadaver gets up and starts dancing to some Madonna song. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the Madonna song or the cadaver dancing that made everyone freak out and run away. But that's what happened. Well, they found out I did it. They just told on me. That's all. I don't know. But I got kicked out of medical school, and I'm not allowed to practice any. But I saved that homeless guy's life, though, right? Mm-hmm. Jackson, I said, you got a penknife, and see, we're pacifists. We don't have knives, even for cooking. Yeah, that's why we go hungry a lot. It's those little plastic knives just don't cut it, literally. But nevertheless, Jackson just ripped open one of those old rusty tin cans that the beans come in. Old jagged. He just ripped it right off his ear. Just cut him open with this, Dad. I didn't have time to sterilize it because, as you know, the alt-right's after us, and Steve Bannon himself. That I'll tell you that in a few minutes. Happened. This is right after we didn't stitch the guy up. We had to run away real quick. I hope he's okay. What? Oh, Jackson just found out. He was listening to the police radio next door, and they said the guy didn't bleed to death, but he's got sepsis from some kind of rust all around his wound. At least they can't blame me for that. Oh no, and they won't believe Jackson either, because they'll think Jackson's a liar. They'll say Jackson's a liar, and then And then Donald Trump said this. I know Jackson. He lies all the time. Trump said this. He don't even know Jackson. He lies all the time. Oh, look, one time he said he was a gynecologist. Oh, he don't fool me. He don't speak no foreign languages. That's what Trump said. So that's who we're dealing with. But nevertheless, we're down here to get facts. Yeah, every time they empty the trash, some of it flies out and gets into little septic creek here. And we pull it out and we read it, and we're trying to see transcripts. So far, we got his tax return from last year. I know that.
That was a few million, nice in our pocket.
Yes, it was. He paid us to get it back. That's right, parakeet. In any rate, we're not here to make trouble, and we're really not in Florida. So got your food because you're on TV and everything's real. Well, I just want to do a disclaimer here. This is just my weird sense of humor, like getting kicked out of medical school. It's just my weird sense of humor. I can't stop. If it's crazy, then let me be crazy, because you know what? If you don't laugh in this world, right? If you don't laugh in this world at least once or twice, you're going to be throwing yourself in front of a train. Yeah, I did try that. That's another story. That's a story for a Prozac commercial, right? Actually, no, that's what I was on. That made me do that. It said, you know what? And then this they pulled me out and they said, "Why you do that? Why you do that?" And I said, I didn't mean to throw myself in front of the train. And the guy goes, "No, I don't mean throw yourself in front. You didn't pay for your food before you left my restaurant. You didn't pay for your food." And I said, "Oh, sorry." Right, parakeet?
Yeah, we didn't kill the guy.
We didn't do enough. What you need to do is go to the transit policeman over there. He's right up there on the steps there. Tell him we'll stay here. We'll stay here until you get him. You bring him down here. We'll straighten this whole thing out. You'll get your money. All right, he's going up. He's about halfway. He can't get back. Let's go, run. That's how we got out of that one. Yeah, it's called How to Travel on a Dime. Literally, on a dime. That's what we're doing. We're just hanging out here right now, just resting. That's Steve Bannon. Parakeet got him good, I'll tell you. Steve Bannon. Jackson just grabbed him around his neck and started roughing up his hair. Just going like that. And then let him go and said, you punk, Now I'm just rambling. The area news in Lake Nockamixon, things have calmed down a lot since the ice hockey games were called off. This is what they did to make money. They thought, well, in the wintertime it should freeze and we'll have a big, they had these big Pennsylvania junior ice hockey people. They promised them this and that, and they had all that parking because of the park and everything. But the ice, we didn't even have ice last year. But this time of year is a bad time to have that. They came anyway. A lot of people drowned, didn't they, Jackson?
Yep.
These kids, they just drowned. Their coaches are going, "Get out there! You're afraid of them."
Parents fell in.
Yeah, so just to save the kids, the parents fell in.
And then they froze, got hypothermia. And
most of the time, it was cutting themselves on what? Jagged lids from tin cans. Yeah, I used to have a worm store, and this they blame me for the tin cans at Lake Nockamixon. People getting cut. I don't know. They could have bought it from some other worm store. But I had a little worm store, and I sold them in the little tin cans that with a key, you turn around. I thought it was being clever. It's like sardines, Yeah, somebody from another country bought one and thought it was sardines. He said,